Hello friends, welcome back to part 6 of my 2022 Q3 forecast review series, going through all the slides in the forecast that I tweeted out a week ago with my color commentary on every slide. So I'm going to go back to sharing my desktop. This was the last slide that we reviewed in part 5. So I'm going to proceed to the next slide, slide 12 of 30. So this chart shows Tesla average revenue per delivery versus automotive gross margin excluding regulatory credits as a percent of revenue. That's a big mouthful. Let me try and walk through these separately. So you've got you got labels on both sides. The right and the left side of this chart have the y-axis labeled differently. So let's start on the left with the automotive gross margin excluding regulatory credits. This is Rob Maurer's favorite number that Tesla reports every quarter. The first place he goes to see how much better is Tesla getting at making money, because this number is so important towards determining what the bottom line earnings will be. There's a ton of other factors, but this is a really important one. Because the deliveries are known already, the ASP you can pretty much guess. The real unknown is how much better is Tesla's gross margin getting, and gross margin is how much is left over after paying for the costs directly related to producing the vehicles that Tesla sold. Alright, so you can see that the bars are labeled with percents, like the percents that are shown along this y-axis over here. So these line up. That's 17.3%, this is 19.3%, etc. So the bars are showing you how Tesla's gross margin percentage has been improving over time. And these last two bars only are my forecast. This 26.2 is the most recently reported number. Now, some in the Tesla hater ranks saw this 26.2% reported and said, aha, Tesla is doomed. Now they're going to trend down from here forward because their gross margin got worse. Well, what they didn't understand is that Tesla's most profitable factory is in Shanghai, and during Q2 of 2022, the Shanghai lockdowns forced the closure of that factory for a few weeks, and then very limited production for a number of weeks following that, before they could resume full operation of that facility. What did that do? It caused fewer vehicles produced at that factory to be delivered during Q2, and that sales mix shift away from Shanghai and more towards Fremont caused the gross margin to get worse, as you see here. Also, Austin and Berlin are just starting to ramp up, so their costs are also hitting here as they begin to deliver small numbers of vehicles, and they'll be past break-even into the future with Shanghai back at full strength in Q4. They were actually still down at the beginning of Q3, not for Shanghai lockdowns, but for line upgrades to be able to produce more vehicles per week. Alright, so that's the automotive gross margin excluding regulatory credits. Why do I have something else on this chart? Well, over here on the average revenue per delivery label to the right, this y-axis is giving you how much money Tesla is charging per vehicle delivered on average. So that's what the average revenue per delivery number here is about. Why did it start so high back in 2018? This was right at the start of the Model 3 ramp back here. So what you saw was mostly Tesla's deliveries were still Model S and Model X. Well, the more Model 3s sold, the lower that drove the average revenue per delivery, as makes sense, right? So more and more Model 3s kept being delivered until bottoming here in Q1 2021. What happened here? Well, Tesla started selling more Model Y than Model 3 about this time, and Model Ys are higher priced than Model 3s are. So as more Model Ys get sold as the total mix, and as the price increased for all Tesla vehicles recently, over the past year, the average revenue per delivery has been climbing. But that's not the remarkable thing about this chart or the reason for setting it up in this particular juxtaposition. I have purposely arranged this tableau to graphically demonstrate the point Zach made on a previous earnings call, that despite revenue per vehicle declining, gross margin per vehicle has been improving. Look at this 25.9 here. This was at a much lower revenue per vehicle than in these previous quarters where Tesla never made it to 25.9% gross margin. So what's being illustrated here? It's that Tesla is becoming more profitable over time. They're driving down the variable cost per vehicle by ramping up production further, by producing more of their vehicles in Shanghai, etc. Tesla is becoming a cash-producing machine as time goes by. And these margin percentages are also being aided by those price increases that I mentioned earlier. So it's remarkable to be able to produce more gross margin as revenue per vehicle declines. That's something special, but it's also good when you can charge more per vehicle and just have that price increase flow through to the bottom line as more profit. I think that's all I wanted to say about this chart, and this video will be a standalone for just this one chart. And I will see you in the next one.